What's going on, everyone? Master Ezekiel Klanis here. Today we're going to be working on the different ways to develop knockout power through our punches. Let's get started. Alright, you guys, the first thing I want for you to think about whenever you're throwing a punch is the power starts from the ground. So when people are throwing punches, they're always thinking of this. They're always thinking of what can their arm do. You'll ask someone to throw 10 jabs and they'll be like this, right? I want you to always think of where from the ground am I starting and how can I transfer that power from the ground all the way up my body into my fist. And one of the ways that we think of that is by loosening everything up. If you get real tight when you start to throw a punch, everything gets here and you actually hold yourself back. If you think about like a bicep curl, if you're curling up like this, everyone thinks of tensing this arm muscle. They're like, I'm real strong, right? Well, try this. Try to squeeze this arm muscle as hard as you can and then try to throw a punch. You can't, because the whole point of it is to pull my arm back. So if you're real tight here and you go to throw a punch, you're not going to have any power in it because you're actually pulling your punch back. I want you to think this. Loosen up, relax the shoulders, keep your hands up by your face, and when you throw your punch, let it turn all the way out. Feel like this shoulder is pulling this punch. So the way I like to explain it is if I have a rope and I throw it around this back, in order for me to bring one arm out, I have to pull the other hand back from here. Now, as I'm practicing this, pay attention to what my hips are doing. I'm not staying here and thinking this. I'm turning. I'm making sure to pick up my heel. A lot of people like to say that you don't want to turn and pick up your heel when you throw a hook, but that's going to damage your knee. Even when I'm throwing this hook, my heel should come off of the ground. I should always be able to rotate my hips in any technique that I throw, okay? So the first way I like to practice this is from here. Start from the face, feel like this is like a weapon in its sheath. Now, we're gonna feel the energy transfer from the ground. Come up through the heel, turn through the knee, turn through the hip, hitting with these two knuckles. Now think, this is where it connects. The last portion of the punch, we wanna feel this shoulder come back, almost like I'm a yoga pose. I like to practice from here. Everything should be nice and controlled, like I can go into a lunge and still have my base of support. So instead of throwing a punch like this, we're thinking here. Okay? This is the way to practice it first. Now this isn't completely right yet, but just start from here. Almost like a push. Okay? Now as you start to get the hang of that, I want you to think, we're not pushing our target anymore, we're snapping. So I want to hear more of this. Pulling it back. Pulling it back. So we're thinking that shoulder pulls this punch out. Once my punch is out there, this shoulder pulls it back in as fast as you can. You want to always remember, as you're throwing this technique, you're either going to keep advancing in or you're going to get back to a safe place. All right, let's check out another angle for that. All right, one of the things I like to do to practice this is to videotape myself. And what that does is it allows me to see if my hips are staying tight as I'm doing this or if I'm actually extending it out. When you're practicing this, you should be in a position where you're still protecting your face. You see how my shoulder is above my jaw. If I start throwing punches like this, I'm wide open for that overhand right or that left hook, right? I want to think of this. I keep my chin down like there's a ball right here. Nice and defended. As I throw this punch, I'm here. Now, even though my shoulder is above my face, I'm not squeezing my traps. We want to think of the same thing that we thought of with the bicep, right? If we squeeze and keep it tight here, I start punching down. I want you guys to think loose, right? We're here. Relax. Feel like you're just whipping that punch out. It should never feel like a branch where you're like heavy on it. It should feel like a whip. Here, pull back. When I start to throw that hook, I want to feel this. I'm here. When I throw this hook, I'm now pulling this shoulder back to let that hook out, right? So now you can start practicing cross hook. Cross hook. Turning the shoulders, rotating it out the same way you would do it with the kick. If you watch my other videos, I'm always talking about the importance of pivoting on the ball of the foot as I throw this. If I keep my foot stationary here and try to throw it, I don't have any power. But if I turn this foot all the way, I can kick past the pad. Same thing as throwing the punch. Turning your hips, letting your entire body flow through that shot. Alright you guys, one final thing I want to go over before we finish the video is a good way to practice this is to treat every technique that you already know like it's a yoga pose, right? So instead of always driving power into everything that we do, sometimes it's nice to just go as slowly as you can and make sure that everything is aligned. I like to spend the majority of my time practicing my techniques like that, and then once I'm nice and done with that, then I can start throwing some power out and see how everything connects with energy, alright? We're going to be posting these videos every week. I'm going to do a whole series on how to develop knockout power through each of the techniques. Next week is our overhand right. I'll see you guys there. Awesome job.